Just breaking news, Congressman Gerry Connolly is stepping down from his oversight position and will not seek re-election in the 2026 midterms.
The Democrat said the reason for this was due to his cancer coming back. Connolly had beaten Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for that top spot on the Oversight Committee. You may remember that story.
This has prompted definite reactions on X. Former Rhode Island State Representative Aaron Rugenberg wrote on X, "Every Dem who voted for Connolly to be the leading face of their oversight to the Trump administration during a moment of existential danger, knowing he had likely fatal cancer, owes us an apology. They owe an apology to their constituents and honestly to Gerry. What a joke."
Meanwhile, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett wrote on X, "Thank you, Gerry Connolly, for your years of leadership on the Oversight Committee and in Congress. You've been a fierce defender of truth and accountability, and it's been an honor to not only serve alongside you, but to learn from you."
And she is, I think, a potential person to replace him, as is, I'm seeing a name floated, Representative Ro Khanna. AOC is no longer on that committee, so it might be difficult for her to again seek to lead it, although I suppose it's not impossible. The choice for Gerry Connolly to get that job instead of AOC was, I think, a very clear indication that Democratic leadership doesn't get it. They don't understand. They were picking a senior figure who had waited his turn to be in charge in Washington, D.C., but is of an advanced age and in very, very poor health. They chose him instead of the objectively most exciting, most electrifying member of the Democratic coalition. Again, not someone I personally am in favor of, but someone who can draw crowds and seemed exactly the kind of person you want to be going toe-to-toe with the Trump administration. That would even direct her toward countering Republicans, even if you're a Democrat who's like, I hate how AOC and the left Bernie people go off message and they fight with other Democrats. Okay, well then put them in charge of oversight. That is directed at Republicans. And they wouldn't do it because they have no creative thinking in the Democratic leadership. But now they're going to be forced to have some creative thinking because the entirely foreseeable consequence that it's sad for him, sorry for him, I certainly hope he has good fortune in his battle with cancer and is with us for many, many years, but this sounds extremely serious. It was extremely serious when they gave him the job. The cancer is back. He's not going to continue in office once the midterms come up.
Yeah, and the first thing they tell you with cancer is to reduce stress, right? So you know, it all makes
right,
sense. We do wish him, you know, we wish him the best, certainly. And I think going back to AOC, you know, one of the things that she really campaigned on while trying to get into that role was passing the torch to younger leaders. And that did happen in maybe some other committees at that time, but it didn't happen for her. And I think that she, you know, made a statement saying, you know, something to the effect of, you know, I tried. And I think that for her, what is disappointing is that she just can't make headway sometimes into some of these leadership roles, to your point, that would give her even more visibility and give her message more visibility. And is there something to be said for that they don't want her to have any more, so to speak, clout than she
they're
already
allergic
has.
to winning. They're allergic to good ideas. They just love failure. Oh, I'm glad.
Well, I can't speak to allergies right now.
I would be so frustrated.
Well, look, I think it is frustrating for a lot of Democrats who are watching this and who are saying, you know, this would have been an opportunity, like you said, to bring AOC into this type of leadership role. They wanted to go with somebody who had more experience. I think he had, I believe, had tried to get into this role before and had not, maybe one or two times even in the past. And so, but he was a long-term serving member, someone who came in with experience, things that, I know that's a word you dislike because I've been on the show enough to know that you don't like the word experience, but there were those reasons.
Almost as much as I dislike the word expertise.
Well,
it's even worse.
Look, I mean, I think there's something to be said, though, for the decisions that they are making and that they're not paying attention. You know, we had the interview with Representative Wheeler out of, you know, talking about, you know, going against the party with different messaging. And I think that's an interesting interview because when you do speak up and you do say something different, it's not always welcomed by those who have been long-serving members. And I think AOC finds herself in these situations where she can't make headway into bigger, more visible roles. So she's creating her own space, and she's done that really well by we can see drawing crowds, her and Bernie Sanders, Senator Sanders, everywhere they go, literally. And so, look, they're going to have to live with these decisions, and this is an example of it, sadly.
Yeah, well, you don't often get a chance to, when you're screwed up in a decision, immediately correct it if you want. So what do you think about Jasmine Crockett in this role? I mean, she's been getting a lot of attention, certainly. I think a lot of this attention is negative attention and has been kind of like embarrassing, but maybe Democrats feel differently. Maybe they think she's the right person for this job.
Well, I think they're going to have to open up at least to looking at younger leadership. So I think they're realizing that, and they made some changes last year, but I think that they're realizing we've got to figure out a way to pass the torch better, and we're not requiring you have 20 or 30 years of service before we essentially promote you into bigger roles. So we'll see what happens with her. I'm not sure what their pulse is on how they feel exactly on the possibility of her. This is all just coming out, breaking with Connolly, so we'll see what happens. But I think that in the days to come, we're going to hear her name thrown in, as you mentioned, in some others going forward. So I think it's interesting, but they do need to pass the torch. That's for sure. They're missing the moment. And they're going to do a disservice to the party if they don't bring in younger leadership, even if they don't agree with everything that they say. You got to bring them in. And guess what? It's an opportunity to teach. That's what I would argue. Do it now. Don't wait.
That does it for us today on Rising. Thank you so much for tuning in, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any of our content. We're now available anywhere. You can also listen on the go to podcasts, so you definitely want to check that out as well. And we'll be back here tomorrow, Tuesday. See you then.